Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Prof. Nenden, Dr. Fazri, and my dearest classmates. My name is Yola Safitri. I would like to present my chapter report. The topic is Genre-Based Approach. In this occasion, I will discuss the introduction to GBA. The second is the history of GBA. The third is the principles. The fourth is models of GBA. The fifth is about genre in school. The sixth is about the implementation of GBA. The seventh will be the analysis. And the last one is the conclusion. Alright, we go to the first discussion. What do you know about genre-based approach? I will later use GBA as the abbreviation for genre-based approach. So, what is GBA? Emilia stated that genre-based approach is an approach that uses text as a means of learning a language, while Richard said that GBA involves the mastery of different text types as a communicative competence, means that someone is considered to have communicative competence when he or she can create various text types. Have you already known about text, context, and also genre? What are they? Text is a semantic unit, the language people produce and react to, both spoken and written in the course of daily life. It can be inferred that text doesn't only mean a written product, but it also refers to spoken product too. While context is the details that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, and in terms of which it can be fully understood and assessed. And genre refers to the text types. Text types are assumed as a social construction in which a social function can be identified. Genre and context in GBA are based on the discussion of SFL, or a systemic functional grammar. And then there's context of situation, as stated by Halliday, that affect the use of language. The discussion relates to the text, context, and genre in which it's become the fundamental theory of GBA. The first one is field, which is the topic or social action that is taking place. And second is tenor, the participants, their status and roles. And mode, which is part of the language is playing and channel of communication. What is meant by channel of communication is whether the language is in the form of written or spoken, the medium, and where the conversation takes place. Field, tenor, and mode are called register. Next, the history of GBA. Genre-based approach appeared in the mid-80s. It was first developed in Australia and inspired by Halliday's systemic functional linguistics. It also known as interventionist pedagogy because GBA emphasized the influence of teachers' intervention in students' learning process. The approach supported by some genre theorists such as James Robert Martin and also Francis Christie. The discontentment from genre theories toward the process approach to English literacy teaching, which was popular at that time in Australia, was a kickstart to a new way in teaching English. This approach underlined the natural learning. It is believed that students could write without any formal instruction about writing, similar to learned speaking. This approach also neglects the grammar aspects and only focus on the count and narrative. On the other hand, the supporters of GBA argued that the instructors or teachers have the responsibility to intervene in the learning process. the students should be supervised to get direct teaching on writing because writing skill is not given but it has to be learned formally. Learning how to write is not the same as learning to speak. That can be done naturally without any specific teaching. Furthermore, the genre theories over that students should learn other text types such as report text, discussion, and explanations to help the students during their further education, final examination, and university placement. The numerous practice of this approach in countries and the adaptation of GBA in the context of teaching English as foreign language show that GBA is relevant to the English teaching context in Indonesia as it was introduced in the curriculum year 2004 and 2006. Next, the basic principles of genre-based approach. There are several principles in genre-based approach. First, GBA emphasizes that it is essential for the teacher to develop students' awareness that every text is unique and relative to specific groups of people and particular contexts. With these considerations, students are guided to be thoughtful in writing and responding to text. Second, GBA believes that language learning is a social activity. It means that language learning is the result of collaboration between the teachers and the students, and between the students and other students. Interaction is the key point in learning language, both between the teacher and the students and among the students. Third, GBA emphasizes that the learning will be more effective if the teachers explicitly explain the expected skills that will be obtained by the students after the learning process. Fourth, GBA underlines that students learn in teachers' guidance in the form of apprenticeship. Students' role as the one who are trained and the teacher's role as the expert encourage them to achieve optimal learning outcomes. And the last one, teaching grammar is an essential part of guiding students to understand how a language works, which yield in a broader acknowledgement for the student. Next, the models of genre-based approach. There are several models of genre-based approach as offered by GBA expert. The model that is known and widely used by the teachers in Indonesia as introduced in curriculum year 2004 and 2006 is actually a development of Rotary models. Consists of negotiating field, deconstruction, joint construction, and independent construction. Furthermore, the newest model is offered by Martin 2010. The model consists of 3 steps: deconstruction, joint construction, and independent construction. Although there are several differences between both of the models, the principles of both models are underlying the similar aspects, such as the importance of developing knowledge related to the topic that will be written, and then the importance of giving models for the students' reference in order to achieve best outcomes in writing, and then the importance of cooperation in constructing a text through joint construction activity, especially when students learn the type of text for the first time. And then the importance of individual construction, where the students write individually through the recursive process. The next section is about genre taught in school. The concept of genre in GBA is built up from the concept of genre in applied linguistics, particularly in systemic functional linguistics. That genre is defined as text types, According to its social functions and social purpose, the students should learn this genre or text types, suggested by Curriculum Year 2013 in Indonesia. In junior high school, they learn descriptive, recount, procedure, narrative, and report. Meanwhile, in high school, they also learn explanation, analytical exposition, news item, and discussion. Next, the implementation of genre-based approach in the class. The first one is building knowledge of field or BKOF. BKOF is conducted to build the students' background knowledge on the issue discussed. Teachers introduce the text to build up students' knowledge of the genre taught. These are some steps in BKOF. First, the students are given some text related to the topic and the text should be authentic. The students are asked to read the text and then they will be given some questions related to the text. Teachers can obtain the students' reading comprehension skills and teach reading techniques such as the 3-phase techniques: pre-reading, whilst reading, and post-reading. Second, the students are asked to identify unfamiliar words or phrases in the text and asked to guess the difficult word context. Teachers can also encourage students to apply strategies of proficient reading such as skimming, scanning, and predicting. The students learn another language skill such as listening. Teachers can read the text aloud or give the recording tape to be listened to by the students. And also, listening scores can be collected in the steps. Third, students are asked to retell the text they have read, answer the questions related to the text, conduct a question and answer session orally. Fourth, to improve student critical thinking and critical reading, teachers can ask questions in which the answer are not there in the text but explicit. For example, who is the writer of the text and the reader of the text, or what is the purpose of the text. The next is modeling of text or MOT. MOT familiarize students to the genre or text type discussed. Teachers can demonstrate how to write the text type to the students after analyzing the text. This will make the students understand that writing is not a one-time activity, but the long process and it is recursive, means that it is a repeated procedure. Step 1. Teachers explain the genre or text type, including the social purpose, social function, and social context. The students are given printed documents containing a brief explanation about schematic structure and also function of text. And then the teachers show a whole text, including the structure of the text. Second step, teachers and students identify the generic structure and linguistic features from the text. Teachers are suggested to teach functional grammar in this step, and then students are given some examples of text in the form of, for example, diary or postcard to simplify the text and give various styles in understanding the text. And then the next step, students are given another text with some grammar errors. And students are asked to identify the errors and correct the mistakes. And then the last step, in elaborating various types of text, teachers should invite the students to discuss and deconstruct each a sentence and discuss the use of grammar to guide them in understanding grammar in use or in context. And then there is joint construction of the text or GCOT. GCOT is a stage in which students improve their understanding of certain ideas with their peers. It is necessary to administer this step of joint construction, especially when students still need assistance before moving on to the next step. They can develop their ideas of spoken or written exposition and discussion. Teachers can encourage students to share ideas and arrange their concepts in a team. Teachers can also implement the strategies in order to boost students' work collaboratively and cooperatively. The first step, the students are divided into groups, 3 or 4 members. And then the teachers give the plan of the text that will be written by the students. The students are asked to write a text about the topic and the text type that have been studied. The second step, teachers observe the class by approaching each group and asking some questions related to their progress. The third step, each group should consult their draft to the teacher several times, and teachers give the feedback. And the last, teachers and students publish the text in various forms. It can be displayed or delivered orally by the students, while the other groups are asked to respond by giving comments on the other group's work. The last is independent construction of text or ICOT. After engaging in writing preparation, the next step is intended to construct ideas, both speaking and writing individually. This step can be conducted when the students are already confident with their understanding of the text type and topic. Although it is labeled as individual, teachers still need to assist students in writing, which involve a recursive process or revising continually from the first draft to the final draft. It means that the teacher should conduct ICOT more than in one meeting in order to develop students' skill accordingly. Next, the analysis. I will discuss the previous studies, the challenge and problems in applying GBA, and also my standpoints toward GBA. Numerous studies have been done in the scope of the genre-based approach related to the improvement of students' writing and speaking skills through this approach, not only in the level of secondary or tertiary education, but also in the higher level of education. The first study comes from Indonesia University of Education. Conducted by Abdullah in 2015, this study observed the application of GBA in teaching speaking by implementing the 4 steps in GBA. It was revealed that student speaking ability was improved since GBA also promotes guidance learning, bilingualism, and explicit teaching that seem to be useful and effective in student speaking ability development. Next, a study conducted by Pigeon Satin in 2018 on undergraduate and graduate students in Thailand to find the effect of genre-based approach by examining research articles and developing their awareness of their own disciplinary specific genre to their academic writing performance. It is found that genre-based approach can contribute to learners' writing development and increase writing awareness in the learners' focused genre. And then Samad and Adnan in 2017 conducted research on genre-based approach to prepare undergraduate students for their English thesis examination. This study was conducted at the university level to give a contribution to the problem in students' poor performance in the thesis examination, and by applying genre-based approach with some condition, GBA could help students to understand the activities in every section in generic structure and the examiner expectation to prepare themselves accordingly. Next, some problems and challenge in GBA. First, the misunderstanding in BKOF. Some teachers use this step to discuss the text that will be written and explaining the generic structure and linguistic features from the text. It is not building knowledge of the field, but building knowledge of the text. This is a misunderstanding. BKOF should be used to develop students' knowledge about the topic, not the text, the topics that will be written by them. Next, the problem in joint construction of the text. As stated in Emilia 2011, in EFL classroom context, particularly in Indonesia, the application of GCOT is quite problematic since only few students contribute during this step. And then, one problematic thing that happened in independent construction of the text or ICOT, several teachers use this step as a test. And this is once again a misunderstanding because it's not consistent with the nature of writing itself. Next, the challenge in selecting the input model text. The select input text doesn't comply the chosen standard competence and core competence in curriculum. The judgment on the complexity of the text isn't right, and the authenticity of the model of text is inappropriate. The most common teacher's misjudgment when selecting the types of text is because the teacher's misconception toward each types of text. And then the sufficiency of task design. GBA emphasizes on various and recursive activity that the teachers should deliver the task in various ways so that the students will engage in every step of the task and activity given to student. The last one is the problems with time management. In line with the previous problem, GBA emphasized the recursive activity, means that the task and activity are held several times and continue until the students are ready to go to the next step. On the other hand, the time is limited to several hours per week for English lesson depends on the school or the institution, so that the teachers should be able to manage the time to get the optimal outcomes in implementing the genre-based approach. Genre-based approach has been suggested by Indonesian curriculum for 16 years now, though the implementation of this approach is often misused by the teacher. Teachers use genre only to answer questions and to do the task without applying the other steps in GBA that should be administered in teaching learning process. Many use genre because it is there in the curriculum without knowing the rules of this approach. In my experience, 6 years in middle school and high school, the English subject that I studied was all about the text. It is fine because it was there in the curriculum, but the teacher was similar as I mentioned earlier, using text without administering the GBA step. Now I know the rational background behind those various text types taught in school, but still the implementation is still far from the nature of GPA itself. Furthermore, I honestly have a strong standpoint on the teacher's role in GPA, resulting in the student's dependency on the teacher's guidance and presence. Of course, it contrasts with the learner autonomy frameworks. There's problematic issues in this discussion, and I still trying to figure out how to deal with this issue. The last one is the conclusion. GPA can be used to teach language skills. And then GPA emphasizes the collaboration of teachers and students. And then it is a recursive activity. GPA can be applied in a broader context. And teachers should give attention to the challenge and problems in applying GPA. That's all for my presentation. Thank you for your nice attention. See you on the Q&A session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.